The average is 40,
Had to be sworn in before.
and the 56 for Brattleboro.
Oh, she's
We're
got SVSU, it
75.
should connect to whichever
It's
one.
locked, it's got a key. She's
Number one is free lunch, and
Right.
number one is
Okay.
But once,
the state.
once.
Cat TV is ready, so we will begin. I will open the meeting this evening as the facilitator. Welcome, Paul Becker. New member, newly elected, has been sworn in, as has George Sleeman as a newly elected returning member. So I'll open the meeting at 7:05 and call the meeting to order. Nominations are in order for Chair of the Bennington School District Board of Directors.
I nominate Ken Swihart as chairman.
Okay,
Right.
so George,
And I nominate George Sleeman for vice chair.
wait, you're a little ahead of me. Let's go back to the chair. All those in favor?
Just don't know.
Okay,
Unanimous.
great. And then I'll take your nomination for the vice chair, Marie, for George.
Yes.
I'll second.
Claude, seconding. All those in favor?
Put your hand up, George.
But I am now going to turn it back over to Ken. And he will continue with the clerk.
Okay, we need a nomination for clerk.
I nominate Jackie.
I'm not jumping.
I'll second
I
that.
nominate Jackie.
Second. Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, Jackie.
Give me your cast list.
That's very good. And then we need 3 members to the SU
Okay,
board.
now, the way we've normally done the SVSU is that, first of all, we ask, for those that are interested, if we have more than 3 people interested, then we have to have a vote. But if we just have 3, we'll just take the people. So, who's interested, are there any interest in serving on the board?
So we have 4.
There's 4 of us.
Do you
Okay?
want to do a ballot or do you want to do a hand?
I think a ballot would be more appropriate. You have,
I think you should do, each of you take 3 and fill out 3 separate ones, one name for each of the 3 that you're voting for
whatever,
the SU.
Before we do that, could we have some discussion?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I brought this up before, and I think I know what the answer is, but I'd still like to pursue it. And that is that when we come up with 3 people for the supervisory union, is it not possible that we also have an alternate for that person? Hold on, for that person that may not be able to go that night, to be able to ask someone to come. Now, I know there's supervisory unions in the state of Vermont that do it.
We used to do it
So my question is, why don't we do it?
because it's against, wasn't it against
We
research?
we received a legal opinion that it is not within state statute. What you can do,
But over half the people do it, over half the supervisory unions do it.
Go ahead, Rick.
no, that's fine. I mean,
Go ahead.
what you can do is, if you know someone's not going to be at the next meeting, at a board meeting, you can re-elect theoretically a slate every month, if that's what you want to do, but you can't have a standing alternate, according to state statute.
Could that individual go and speak but not vote?
They could be in the audience
No,
anyway.
any
You
board
can
member can do that.
But speak as well.
Any board member can do that.
Because it used to be that we used to have a first alternate and a second alternate. And if someone couldn't make it, we'd call the first alternate, and if they couldn't, then they'd go to the second.
We always did that before.
So we'd be well represented.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with doing what we're talking about. There may be something that comes up at the last minute when a board member who's on the supervisory union can't make it, and it's essential for that to have that slot there. Now,
It
Jackie,
happens a lot.
it does. In fact, more often than not, they're not even coming up with a quorum
That's it, yeah.
at these meetings. So I'm saying, can't we pursue, instead of voting at every meeting to have an alternate, maybe there'd be someone in this group that might be saying, I'll be that alternate if there's somebody that can't come, and maybe we can ratify it, because if there's a supervisory meeting tomorrow night, and I can't make it, there's no way we're going to get together that I can say, I'd like one of you to go in my place. And we know that there's districts that do it, so why don't we do it and let someone take us and someone challenge it?
You can. You can do it, and you're just at risk that someone at the SU level is going to challenge the validity of that person if you.
And the vote.
This is actually,
Well, it will.
this is actually how it came up. There was,
Well, because Cindy knows the rules.
There was
so
a-
she's gonna,
there was a close vote, someone questioned it, and it got queered, and it, so, I
Well-
mean, you can do what you want to do.
Designated alternate, you're talking about a designated alternate?
Yes.
The SVSU board
Because
used
you're
to allow all
electing,
the
you're
boards to do
electing
that.
from this board,
Right,
3 members
right,
to
right.
serve on that board, that's why it's
Because
an
the problem
election.
is,
It's
And
not an
the
appointment.
objection is, it's not Robert's rules, or?
They're telling me it's state law,
the-
but
the
there's
object-
districts that do it.
Yeah, the objection is if you read the statute, you are allowed 3 representatives, that's it.
What, does the law say, Catherine or Rick,
Well, I think can
that
pull
you
it up.
cannot have an alternate? Does it say that?
says you can
That's
have
the
3
interpreter.
representatives.
I don't
So you
believe,
have 3 representatives there that
Elected,
could vote.
Elected, 3,
it does not say you cannot have an alternate.
it's 3
Well,
elected.
Let me ask this, so I won't belabor the point. Can we get an opinion from the State Department of Education so that it doesn't cost us a fee and find out if that's possible? I just think it's ridiculous that we don't do it, because more often than not,
so the problem is, like, in January, there was no meeting because there was no quorum. You had to hustle all around last month to find people to make a quorum. This way, if you did have alternates, everybody, out of 7 people, would make it. And then we would always be
what are we
represented.
doing here?
I will speak to the other
Yes.
side of
On one each paper.
ensuring a quorum is
All in one.
that those members from all of the member districts who are elected to serve on the SU board understand its importance and take it as their own as important work for the SVSU and make sure they attend.
You only got 2 papers, you got 3.
You know, as George says, occasionally there is a time when you just can't, but our problem with the quorum is not always emergency matters.
Good thing I was at the meeting the other night, or you wouldn't have had to hear them. For the,
All right,
For
well,
the
we have
budget.
4
I
people,
brought that up at the meeting before that.
4 people,
So who do we have?
Do you take mine?
Jackie,
Claude and
Ken.
Ted.
So you get to draw the short straw tonight, Paul. You get the short straw all the time.
So how do we leave it?
Karen?
You said she's gonna get a legal opinion from the State Department of Education. I'm sure they're gonna tell you no, but it'll be a free one.
Cost anything to ask. I mean, you can do it. The only risk that you take, which I don't know is a risk anyway, is, I mean, if it's a contentious close vote, that alternate vote may get thrown out. But, so the only risk you take is you either don't have a vote or you have a potentially thrown out vote. It's not a big risk just to do it.
I know, I think we do it.
It's just at the SU level is where they're gonna,
and you'd have to have someone voted in. It'd have to be a person that's voted to be at that time.
tonight,
Or-
if that's what you wanna do, this board needs to vote in an alternate.
I mean, even, I'm just thinking, you have 3 members voted in.
Still light.
I think I paid the,
So the result of that is that Ken, George, and Claude would be on the SVSU board. And then I will say that a place where there is an appointment that you've done before, Ken, is for the executive committee, where the board chair can.
I think I'm gonna hold off on that.
You're going to hold off on that?
Yes,
Okay.
because I think because I scratch my head because all the important work was done in November and December. And I thought the 6 months were going to be executive and 6 months would be full. In January, you had a full, February, you had a full, and then March, you're going to have a full again.
Well, March is a full, and then April is the executive committee, but there'll be a retreat in April. And I think some of that came about because the first one came about because board members at the SU felt they didn't want the executive committee to meet that month, and there was a vote to hold a full board. And then the second time, it was that a retreat session was scheduled on the same night, and everyone said, well, why have the executive committee if we're all going to be there anyway? So they had a full, and that's why that happens.
Okay. Okay, now, part two, these are standing committees or groups that meet. Now, we have to put one person on each. The food service, we need a volunteer.
I'll do it.
You'll do it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, now negotiations. This is a question I've been thinking about. I thought ESP negotiations were done like 2 months ago.
There was an agreement for a finalized contract. It's being proofread. We're waiting for the two sides to say that the document is full before it can go to be ratified. So it has not been ratified yet. But the ESP negotiations and the administrators' negotiations will reopen in the spring of this coming year. So you need to appoint someone for ESP and administration. Teachers would be the year after.
Anybody would like to do ESP, support staff? That's the paras, custodians, secretaries. You have to negotiate with them.
I'll be part of it.
Paul?
Okay.
Administrators?
Administrators?
I was on the last one, but if there's someone else that wants it, I'm more than glad to get off. If nobody else wants it, I'll stay on. Whatever the feeling of the board is perfectly fine by me. We negotiated the last one
3 meetings.
successfully.
Yes, and quite early.
But-
Thank you to the administrators.
But whatever, if somebody else wants it, I'd be glad to step off.
Don't have time. I can't.
Okay.
George?
You did a good job, George.
Policies.
We'll be talking, George.
All right.
Policies.
You don't mind doing it?
I don't mind.
Okay.
Okay,
Go ahead.
And then technology?
Technology? You want to try to take that?
I don't know enough about technology.
I'm on, I was.
You want to do it again?
Yeah,
Okay.
that-
No, I just want to
that-
force
We
you.
have
That's-
Lori
that's-
here, too,
that's-
you know.
That's right.
well,
The only Lori was on ESP, but she's always so busy, she didn't make several of the appointments.
What about the 153 RED? Do you think she'll want to stay on that? It would be good to have continuity.
Paul was on that, too.
Well, Paul's, oh, that's right. You're
Well, if he's gonna do the
Yeah,
ESP.
that's right.
We can still go to the meetings.
Well, just don't kill him
What's
with
your
me.
feeling, Paul?
What's that? Going to the,
What's your feeling?
about the 153, being on that committee still?
Yeah, Lori's been on it. You're right, Paul can't be a
She-
community member any
Yeah, right, I
longer.
wouldn't be there as a community, I mean, I don't,
Well, hopefully, it may run out of gas.
I don't know, the vote in Bennington was
The vote
very
was-
strong for, in Bennington.
Yeah, but it isn't Bennington that concerns me.
If you don't have a dance, if you don't have a partner, how can you
But
dance?
who are we going to do, consolidate with ourselves?
MAU, yes, MAU.
You might want to just wait, because that's kind of in hibernation till April or something,
Well, what
right?
I would recommend,
So you might just want to wait and see what
well,
happens.
yeah, I would recommend, the next meeting is in April, and what I'd recommend is that Lori, you continue to go to that, and that you go as an observer
Who's
at
doing the
least,
policies?
at this point, and then we'll see
took
what
it?
happens
I don't
after
know.
that.
Who took
Unless you
policy,
change
Ken?
Paul did.
your meeting in April.
Who
Okay,
took policy?
Claude.
Oh, Claude.
okay, I think that's it then.
Okay, thank you.
Who took technology?
Oh,
He doesn't
Claude.
mind. Claude doesn't mind
You
going
took
technology,
technology?
and, yeah, he doesn't mind, okay.
actually, the two
Some
right now
committees
are
can't find
connected.
anybody to do policy especially.
Right now, the two are connected because we're doing technology policies.
That's right. Okay, citizens' comment, next item on the agenda. Any citizens here would like to speak? Okay, seeing none, now we're going to have a presentation, Building Supportive School Environment for Students by Principal Donna Mackenzie King, Molly Stark.
Thank you, Donna.
So, just while those are going around, just a handout for you folks to look at. What I wanted to do tonight was just give an overview of something that's new at Molly Stark this year. We are in the process of creating a trauma-sensitive school-wide environment, and we've talked a little bit about this with the board, but I just wanted to do an overview for folks and let you know what sort of funding we're using and where we are at and where we hope to go. So just for you to sort of follow along with. When we talk about trauma in schools, some people may sort of respond to, oh, trauma, do we have trauma in our schools? And the answer is yes, we definitely do. Studies show that more children than we ever thought have experienced physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, have a mother who is treated violently, or have a household member with a substance abuse or mental health issues. Again, we do have trauma in our schools. Neurobiological fields are brimming with research explaining how these adverse experiences can really influence a child's brain development and their ability to make academic gains. And traumatized children require repeated exposure to experiences that build their capacity to shift from surviving to learning. And when educators don't know how to deal with trauma's impact or don't have the needed supports, they may resort to punitive approaches to address inappropriate or unexpected behaviors, and this can re-traumatize children and lead to negative educational outcomes. So there's been a lot of research done in the field, and we know that schools should be safe havens for our children who live in homes where they feel less than safe. And schools need to give children an opportunity to form meaningful relationships with their teachers, other adults in the building, so that they can overcome some of the hostile situations and emotional impact that they've had. If educators have an understanding of trauma's impact on learning, behavior, and relationships, and if there's a school-wide support system in place, like PBIS, which all of the schools in Bennington have, then children can be successful despite any adversity that they may have experienced. So that's what we know, and then what do we do about it? So at Molly Stark last year, we took a team to called East Street School in Massachusetts. We took about 10 educators with us. They had full implementation of a trauma-sensitive school, or the other word that's often used is compassionate school. They were in their 4th year of implementation. We really got a lot of information from them. Due to school improvement funding this year for Molly Stark, we were able to hire 2 coaches to come and work with us. One of those coaches worked with this East Street School in Massachusetts for several years. She's now working with our staff. And we also were able to bring in Mary Ann Brettingham, a behavior specialist who has actually worked at Molly for quite some time. We also are being coached through PBIS, a coach from the state of Vermont. And they're helping us with our Swiss data, looking at trends in our building, just helping us improve behavior managements. So what we're learning at Molly Stark through our coaches is that trauma-sensitive environments really cross over 4 sections: the school-wide picture, the classroom picture, small group, and then individual students. So those 4 areas of intervention, your school-wide interventions, we are in the process of establishing a trauma-sensitive resource team. This is a team that will create an action plan and be sort of the umbrella for the school at Molly Stark. In that, they will look at school-wide infrastructure and culture. They'll look at staff training, what PD our staff needs. Can we and how can we link with mental health professionals, the academic instruction for traumatized children, non-academic strategies, and our school policies and procedures around that. So that's where we are right now. School-wide interventions would include physical environment of our classrooms. We presently have 3 classrooms who are piloting a trauma-sensitive classroom. They are concerned with the layout of their classroom. They're concerned with transitions. They have a quiet space in their room where children can go if they're feeling agitated, stressed. And that's different than being sent to our student support center because it keeps them in the classroom. So it's not another transition out. They can go there and be by themselves. They look at academic strategies as well as non-academic strategies. And some of the academic strategies that our classrooms are looking at are islands of competency. And that's a phrase that really means finding what that child is really good at. What's their strong point? They create predictability in the classroom, whether it's lessons, activities, transitions, safety, written plans. There's consistency with their classmates. We use our positive behavior supports, as we mentioned before, and appropriate evaluations for students, whether it's just classroom evaluations or if there's a need for specialized instruction or evaluations from a school psychologist. Some of the non-academic strategies that we would see in those classrooms are building relationships with children, really strong relationships, and extracurricular for children. Research is also finding that theater, yoga, martial arts is really helping children to self-regulate, calm down, and be able to attain in the classroom longer than before. Another piece that we're looking at is small group interventions. Those would be social skills, self-regulation skills for children, and that can be provided by the guidance counselor or a behavior specialist, and in some cases, the classroom teacher as well. And then the last of those 4 areas that we are looking at is a service team model. This is a very structured problem-solving grade level team that meets weekly. And again, we have our coaches who's modeling this and helping us through this. And they're dealing with individual students, and you've got a team of teachers that are brainstorming and problem solving around one child at a time. We've had this up and running since the fall, and we're really excited about the results that we're seeing. And we've also started a kindergarten group who will be meeting the second time with our coach tomorrow. And our hope would be that by the beginning of next year, we would have a service team at every grade level. That's our hope. And again, that next slide really just tells you the problem-solving steps that we're taking when the kids meet in that team. And the next question would be, where do we go from here? As I said, we hope to increase the number of service teams that we have at Molly. We're really just scratching the surface of our trauma-sensitive team, and we'll be meeting again for the 3rd time tomorrow. We're really hoping to get a structure in place for that so that that's our guiding team in terms of where we're going and what's needed for professional development. And I think one of the most important things that I heard all along through all of the trainings that I've been to is that although we're targeting this for children who have experienced some sort of trauma, it's best practice all the way around. This is the best kind of things that will work for all students. So it's not that we're implementing something just for a group of students. All children benefit from this model, and we're very, very excited that, it's getting off the ground, but we've seen improvements in behaviors, children's attitudes, and they're able, most importantly, to maintain longer in the classrooms for academic purposes.
Is that the feedback you've been getting from classroom teachers
Yes.
and parents?
Yes, I had to think about the parents, but yes, yep.
Where in Massachusetts did you go?
Around the Framingham area, right? Around the Framingham area. And one of the differences in the E Street School is that this is really a Massachusetts, E Street School was a Massachusetts-driven program, so that their central office and their state policies have implemented this. So it goes to a higher level rather than just school. It goes to district and then it goes to the state level. So I don't know if anybody has any questions? Nope.
How many students do you have in this program?
It's really not an isolated program, so this is for everybody, but the 3 pilot classrooms we probably have about 65 students in there right now, in 3 different classrooms.
Are they there because they have behavior problems? They have trauma?
No, they are.
Just took 3 classrooms
Took 3
without-
classrooms with teachers that were interested in doing this. Came to E Street School with us, bought into this as an excellent way to change behavior. Did we put some students in there that we thought could benefit from it? We certainly did. But this was not directed as these 20 kids are going to be in this classroom of 20 children who've all been traumatized. The other interesting thing when we talk and learn about trauma is that we don't necessarily know who has been traumatized and who hasn't. We don't know what the level is, but what research is saying is that for every one that you absolutely know, there's at least one or two that don't present that way, and you will never know that they've experienced anything. Yet the trauma-sensitive approach is benefiting them as well.
So this is a coordinated strategy?
I'm sorry?
It's a coordinated strategy?
It is, yes, it is.
Yeah, the teachers in Donna should really be commended for their approach to this. It's really a wonderful thing to address kids' needs. If you remember a while ago, probably just over a year ago, Daphne did a presentation to the board about the demographics of Bennington. Donna mentioned it doesn't necessarily have to be known who the child is, but many of the demographic factors that children experience, and one simply is poverty. Living in poverty for an extended period of time can create a trauma-like situation for a child. That actually causes their brain to work in a different way. So this isn't simply a case of being able to say, oh, let's just make the standard higher or make the standard different. It's a whole different way of the synapses and the firing and the neurons and all that scientific stuff operating in that child. And they need something more like this to kind of, I don't want to say rewire them, but to, have them cope and adjust to the academic needs that a school imposes, because that's much different than, general everyday activity.
You said that your goal is to have this in every classroom next year?
Yes, we would like to do
expand?
the school-wide. Well, what we would like to, the bigger picture is that the trauma-sensitive resource team is sort of going to drive the overall push of this for the whole school. But then as we narrow it down to individual students, it's the service teams, which are grade-level teams. That's what we hope to have implemented by the beginning of next year. But this is sort of ongoing work. So from the trauma-sensitive resource team, I think what we will find is, all right, we need professional development in this. We really don't have this piece of it. So we'll have to move that a little bit slowly and get this in place. So I think it will be a process. It will not be something that just happens overnight.
What mechanisms do you use to get this out to the remaining the rest of the teachers, for the results or the benefits that you're seeing? How does this get communicated out to the population?
Interestingly, it was last week, I think, the principal from the East Street School, along with our current coach, came out and we did a whole day workshop where teachers were able to go in for 2 hours. They did a presentation. They could really hear from someone who had experienced this, what they did, how it changed. He made it very relevant to what was happening at Molly Stark, and that was a way that really charged teachers. I had a lot of feedback. Wow, this is great, this is great. So it's keeping it in the forefront, probably bringing somebody like Brett Bishop occasionally back with teachers to, just keep that momentum going. And I actually do have a teacher in the audience who was there last week. Did you, Donna, if I could put you on the spot, did you enjoy that workshop with Brett?
Very much so.
Okay.
I'm real eye-opening. We filled out charts. Shared log. Talk about what's happening on the side. And then what we'd like to see happen.
Right.
And be positive about it instead of saying, this will never happen. We want that to the inside. It's like, how can we do it?
Good turnout for participation by all the teachers?
It was mandatory. It was, yeah, they had to.
Hi there. Donna, do you have any information in regards to how the trauma-sensitive resource team might be interacting with the outside agencies such as UCS and the IEP teams? Do you know how that's going to work? Jeff, or to create like safety plans and reintegrations and things like that?
Right. You bring up a really good question. One of the things that I feel like I'm talking to both of you here. One of the things that we have been able to do, we have an outside therapist who is coming into Molly Stark. And she's actually, she has a caseload that she's seeing at Molly Stark. So she can be part of that team. As far as the IEP goes, East Street School actually, when they do their service teams, they feel that the IEP student already has a team and they're not allowing IEP kids to go through that. So that was the model that we started with in the fall. However, a couple of weeks ago, we had 2 children that one of the teachers really wanted to bring to the team for a non-IEP issue. And we did that, and we felt that it was beneficial for that teacher. As far as the outside agencies, if we needed Easter Sales or DCF, that would be a tiered level of the service team, and we would invite them to come around the table. Similar to what we do now, safety planning meetings, Act 260 meetings. Is that what it is, Act 260? So we can involve outside agencies in this as well.
Okay, so they're sort of like, to be the ones, do you think there would be like the teams meeting together, or do you think there would be a representative, say perhaps from that team to work with these other individuals and helping assist with the
I think if this,
whole planning?
the idea with the individual service team is that you start at your service team level, and then as you realize that you need more supports, other people are brought in. It might be a reading specialist, it might be the guidance counselor, and as those tiers rise and the need becomes greater, that's when that team would invite those outside agencies to come in and be part of that team for that child.
Well, I'm just.
Am I not understanding it?
Like a child reintegrating back into a home, say, and where the IEP team has to make a certain accommodation for a reintegration and say it was a
Yeah.
traumatic issue, then, sort of like a consistent plan across all
Right.
agencies or all environments that the child is maybe supported, because I know perhaps there's the same information being shared amongst them.
Right.
So that's how that would work?
I would think so. We haven't experienced that yet,
Yeah,
but
I
that
know,
would
this
be,
is early, I'm just sort of
Yeah.
trying to get an idea of how we integrate with those others.
think that,
Thank you.
sure.
Everything Lori was saying around this that we bring this stuff.
Right.
Not that I don't want to belabor, but why did that school not, what was the reason to not have IEP? And I'm losing the acronym, I don't get lost at that tongue, but
Right.
to not have them overlap if creates an environment that
The
promotes the learning.
reason behind that is anytime a student has an IEP or an individualized education plan, they really have their own team already. They have their classroom teacher, they have the special educator, they might have a guidance counselor or the school psychologist. So East Street School was feeling that child already has a team already in place, and if there were issues, it might involve changing the IEP. So it would need to go back to the IEP, because anytime you would change an IEP would be the IEP team decision, not the service team decision. But these were things that didn't have anything to do with the child's academic. It was other things, and so we said, yes, let's bring that child. So I think for a while we will do that, if we thought the child was in need of that.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You
Donna.
keep us involved, let us know.
Yeah,
update.
absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, next, the financial report. We have the treasurer's report from Renee here in front of us. She just handed it out.
There's some extra copies here.
Everything looking all right?
Yes. And I'm a little off schedule because I'm not here at the end of the quarter. I looked at the calendar and was a little nervous. I might
That's all right.
have it ready next time. These first meetings in the first week of the month. Nothing extraordinary to report on this report, more of like what's coming up. At the end of this week, I'll pick up The balance for the tax collection turnover came out from the town on Friday. It's $270,000 that coming in. State aid and sped reimbursements will be coming in the end of April, but at that time we'll also have another $1 million assessment going out to the SVSU, so it's almost a wash. And then the end of June, we'll have that note to pay off. But if you look on the side that shows you my accounts, that TAN investment account, thankfully I've been able to keep the 2.15 million socked in that account. Once we came back into the black, once we had the taxes turned over in November. So that will sufficiently cover what we owe on that loan, and hopefully net us some pretty good interest.
Questions of the treasurer?
Renee, I have a question, but not so much about that. I'm just curious, on these two accounts that are on the very bottom that we see each time, Stratton Monroe and Edith Dewey, the amount that you're showing there, is that the total amount that's left in those accounts? That's it?
Well,
So in
they're
other words, that's,
Well,
doesn't
every-
have too much longer to go.
It's not earning a whole lot.
That's it, huh?
Well,
Is it
we're
restricted?
not burning principal there. We only give out, I think, interest, correct?
That's true of the Stratton Monroe.
Stratton Monroe?
Yeah, the award.
Is that right?
The Stratton Monroe is only the interest.
But how about on the
Sometimes it's
Edith
not all
Dewey?
used either.
Yeah, it was long before my time. I can't remember.
You know, I could go back and
It's
do an
Edith Dewey.
analysis of what it's,
Yeah, but that, I was just curious, because when I looked at that amount, it's getting lower and lower, and it looks like it may be not going to last too much longer.
It's only like $200.
a couple $100
Yeah,
that we
so
do
that would be,
scholarships for annually.
So,
25 years at $200, so you get plenty.
okay, yeah, no big deal. Thanks.
What are the things that come out of there?
Stratton Monroe is Jim and Donna could probably help me. It's a summer scholarship, academic scholarship for K through 5 students. And the Edith Dewey is a graduating high school senior scholarship.
Can we have a,
I just wanted to make, and I'm sure Richard's good enough to pick up on this. I noticed that the agenda says the March report. This is really the February treasurer's report, so I just wanted that clarification.
can we have a motion to accept the February report?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any other questions of Renee? No? All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, we also have a budget status report. It was on the site, SVSU. Again, if you have any questions, anytime, you just can call Rick and he'll give you the answer.
I do think it's my fiduciary responsibility to, bring to your attention that, as you know, we've had a number of unusual circumstances this year that have put a significant drain on cash and your expenditures. For the last few days, we've been doing an analysis of the BSD. If you look at this report closely, you'll see a number of expenditures lines that are overspent. We have identified areas in the budget that we can cover those line items with, and we will be doing that in the near future. I want to also, this budget is extremely tight at this point of the year. We're fortunate from a utility standpoint, although I've lived in Vermont long enough to know that winter can come back tomorrow and be here until June if it so chooses. So we're not prepared yet to dip into the oil funds at this point. But I just wanted to bring you aware of that. I know you were aware that we had a sewer issue at Molly Stark last weekend. Jerry can elaborate, but I'll give you the short story is that that repair went very well, as expected. However, we've discovered another sewer problem on the other end of the building, which I believe we're going to try to repair this Saturday. But those are, again, two unexpected expenses that are providing additional pressure on this budget. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. It's currently under control. We've got it covered. We are paying very close attention to it, but I wanted the board to be brought up to speed.
Would the highway construction that's adjacent to our property be a factor in that?
I don't believe so. The first one was just a broken pipe, and this one appears to be a settlement that has created a valley in the pipe.
Internal or external of the building?
External.
Both?
Yeah.
Under pavement or outside of pavement?
Under pavement, blacktop.
Is there a need like to freeze budgets or purchase orders or anything like that yet?
I will do that at the drop of a hat, but I don't feel I'm there at this point.
Blacktop.
You already told us not to order anything, Rick. That was like months ago.
I hate to say that, there'll be a rush on them. Okay. Okay, next item, old business. Karen's here to give us an update on our pre-K grant.
And budgets was successful, so it's good news.
Yes. Great to see the budget passed. So there was a couple of things I wanted to update you on. In addition to the grants that we've already talked about, I found an additional grant that I'll be putting in a letter of interest for on March 16th. And this grant is, award is up to $30,000, and it's awarded from the Department of Education. It's called an Early Education Initiative Grant. And it's actually, the award, once you're selected, the award is pending the end of the legislation because the legislative session, because it's actually in the DOE budget, so we have to make sure that the DOE budget passes. But so we will be applying for that grant to help offset some of the funds that or some of the costs of the project. And if we receive that grant, we should be in pretty good shape for fall. So.
Would that be something we'd subtract from the 100,000 that we were gonna be paying?
Remember, we have $260,000 that we need to come up with, and 100 is in the Bennington budget, and the rest we are going to do through grants and searching other funds. That's our estimated cost.
Not yet, but we'll keep trying, Kathy.
I keep looking for grants.
Well, I know, I
to help
see you
us.
got a brand new one, that's good, excellent.
Yeah, she's very good.
I feel like we need to be responsible, so I don't mind to keep looking. But we'll get to a point where we won't be able to look anymore, at least for this year. As far as the implementation and capacity, I have sent out letters to all of the providers who had expressed interest in being a partner, and I've reconfirmed with 9 of those partners that they still indeed want to partner. I have 6 more meetings scheduled over the course of the next 10 days. And then I have about 5 more messages that came in the last day or so of people that want to set up meetings. So people are still interested, I'm still doing the work. So it does look like we have, we'll have a better picture about capacity. Once we confirm who the providers will be, then I'll be putting out notification to the community, trying to get parents to come to a forum to learn about public pre-K, and starting to get things organized for an enrollment period of time, and help people sign up. The last piece that we still have to do is to secure some licensed teachers who are endorsed in early childhood or early childhood special ed. And I do have, Rick and I talked today, I'll be talking to Catherine tomorrow, about strategies to be able to get those teachers, because they're not really going to play a teaching role. They'll be like a mentor, a coach, modeling, helping with curriculum, those kinds of things. So we have to write up a description and come up with a strategy to solicit people in the community who might want to work with us on this project. So that's the update there. It's moving right along.
Good, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Any questions of Karen?
And I'm sorry, we're talking about the public pre-K? Okay.
I'll have questions for you, I'm sure.
Okay, now we have a registration, a date for the kindergarten for next year.
Oh, I can tell you.
Is that yours too? Okay. You have time to do that?
She's the director of early childhood and through K. So.
There's only so many hours in the day though, right?
I do really well between 2 and 4 in the morning. Some days. If you see me yawning, it's because it's catching up with me. You know, I'm not doing this alone. Donna and Jim we've been working together and
He's helping.
trying, and Teresa at central office has also been helping us. We've streamlined the process this year. We were hearing from families that they were overwhelmed with the volume of the registration packet. So in the past, it had held us up in really knowing who the students were, who were going to be coming into the school. So we were assigning schools late, and it just wasn't working well for children, for the families, or for the schools. So this year, we sent out, well, let me back up a step. Because we were doing the community needs assessment for public pre-K, we decided to also at the same time do the whole SVSU and collect names for the incoming kindergarten students. So while we are focusing on pre-K, it made sense to expand the work that we were doing to do all. And we found we were really effective because we sent out 120 to 125 letters and only 4 came back, and we've been able to find all of those 4 except for 1. So we've only really missed 1 child based on the data that we had. We knew that we weren't completely there though with that 122 because we're about in the 130, this year there's 137 kids. So I can tell you what we have so far. Molly Stark, we have a total of 122 children who we've identified. Actually, we had 125, but 3 of those families have indicated that they're going to be using private school. So when you take and you look at the addresses solely of where the children live, as a starting point, we have Bennington Elementary School with 41, Molly Stark with 56, Monument with 25, and we have 2 families who have already indicated that they're requesting Monument that are in other schools. So one is because a sibling is already at Monument, and one is because of family circumstance. So they've already said in their registration that they would be
So Karen, as we move forward, we're really going to have to look at that Monument K to keep
27.
to our class sizes of 15 to 18 cap.
So and how we got this information was, I'm sorry, I bird walked for a minute. We, after we had our list of children, we sent out a registration form, and parents only had to fill out the form and return it in a self-addressed stamped envelope to us. That's how we were able to verify these numbers so far. When those letters came back in, then we sent an enrollment packet. So some enrollment packets have come back, others haven't, but on that original sheet, there was a place where parents could indicate were they going to use public school or private. And so that's why we're feeling pretty certain about our numbers right now. And even though we felt we did a really good job through the community needs assessment, through the publicity we've done, both Catherine on the radio and in the newspaper, we have identified 11 new students who weren't on our original list. So we're going to do more about kindergarten registration. I think on March 19th, we're going to do a radio spot. The registration for the public for Bennington the deadline is March 16th. Packets can be made available to you by calling central office, or they are posted on the web. So we encourage parents as quickly as possible to fill out the enrollment packets so that we can identify school assignments and class assignments.
Yeah. It's going to be, our challenge, of course, is going to be keeping the size at Monument into the commitment, into the class sizes. So we'll probably do a search of siblings first, And then, but as we think about that in the coming months, we've had a lot of success last year when we opened that additional kindergarten and did some moving. But we were moving into the monument area, whereas this year we'll be moving out. So I think that's going to be a challenge. So we'll have to watch it and see how we move forward. It also brings up the conversation, Paul, I'm sure you've heard here before about long-range planning and what we're going to do, what we are going to start to try to do to think about the 3 campuses in one district and what the future will hold for really trying to look at the type of organizational structure that we'll want for the 3 elementary schools.
Yeah, and I think we are going to have to do that long-term planning, because right now, if you look at what we know, and we know that there'll be more, and you look at the fact that we'll have 8 kindergarten sections, 3 at Bennell, 4 at Molly, and 1 at Monument, we're at 50, we're at 15 plus 2 leftover kids, so 2 of the sections would have 16.
Yeah, we're going to have to do some.
So we are going to.
The most you can have here is 1.
Pardon?
The most you can have here is 1.
For next year, yeah, for the incoming is 1, because we have that current kindergarten that will go to first grade.
So right there, you've got, with the additive 2, you got about 9 or so that have to find another home.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, thank you again. Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. Paul, just to let you know, I don't know if you're able to print it off at all.
I didn't get it.
Every meeting, there's a consent agenda, and what it is, it's made up, instead of going through a lot of different things, we combine them. You get the minutes, the warrants, any leaves of absence, resignation, retirements, new positions, nominations, and any field trips. So we do this as a package. Okay, can we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So, second?
Second, okay, see, so now you can have any discussion on any one of these items that are up there. If you have questions on minutes, warrants represent any of the accounts payable that we have. Any bills, anything you want to question, that's all set. And the rest are pretty cut and dry. Unless field trip, you want to know where they're going, why, and so forth. But there's none right now. Yeah.
Just to go on the record, I did send out a revision to the January 25th minutes, and I didn't get that revised copy in my packet, so I don't know if other people did. There were very minor revisions.
January what?
It was January?
It was the January 25th.
Yep.
And on the minutes that I got, it's page 2. This came in from Karen after they went out the first time. Page 2, line 30, 29 and 30, strike use only and insert partner with. And on line 30, add as much as possible.
Okay.
So the motion should be amended to approve as Richard's amended.
Okay.
So moved.
Make the motion to amend the motion.
So moved.
With his
Motion to amend the
statement.
motion.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any questions on any of the items? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, committee reports, Act 153 read, and I guess, no, there was no meeting this month, so the previous report that Lori gave us will suffice.
It won't be till 2nd.
But you are having a meeting April 2nd?
Right.
Okay. Food service, Maria, is there anything on the food service? You have any meeting last month?
No.
No? Okay, nothing there either.
But it is the free breakfast.
Yes, I wrote that down, all this week.
So we want to make sure everyone remembers that.
And where is that?
It's all this week?
It's it's K-12, right?
Oh, at
Free
school.
breakfast?
Yeah, but if you look into.
Pre-K.
When I was looking quickly in the banner under greets or meetings or whatever, it says free lunch.
Oh, no.
So I did read it. It does,
No such thing as a free lunch.
The caption says free lunch, and then it tells about free breakfast in the Abbey group. And I'm there, whoa.
Well, I think that's very nice of the Abbey
Thank you,
Group.
Stephanie, to all of you that work with that.
Because they kicked off the first 2 weeks of this year with free lunches, too.
It's nice cooperation with the Abbey Group, but the cost comes out of the food service advisory, it comes out of the food service fund of the SVSU.
Well, we'll take it back then.
But it's been very beneficial because we've got statistics now that, is this the third year we've done it, Stephanie, or second?
Second, yeah.
That we are retaining those students that after,
Oh.
you know, our participations are growing after these free weeks, so it is serving its intended.
And then
What do you mean by participation?
then the reimbursements will increase too.
You know, like, for example, if our participation rate before the breakfast was 17%, during free breakfast, we're significantly, I mean, it's a lot, if not everybody. Afterwards, we'll maintain some of those, and we might be at 20% instead of 17, so we seem to be growing a little bit each time. Is that a fair statement? 40, 50 at breakfast?
Especially elementary schools, middle school, and high school are lower.
And that's actually huge, because I think the state average is 27%, so we're apparently now well above, and this promotion is a lot to credited to accomplish that.
And the Abbey gets a good return from the federal government for every meal served too, right?
Do you notice improved behavior? Does it affect the performance and behavior? Is that something you can quantify?
I can't say at Bennell that we have documented, we have not tracked it, but my gut reaction would be when kids aren't hungry, they behave better and they're more attentive. I mean, this research does prove that, but as far as Bennell specifically, we have not documented it.
So there's another savings, or there's a benefit to it, clear benefit.
Well, and also I think what happens too is that teachers are not providing breakfast, in the classrooms. You usually get teachers with cereal boxes and whatever in their rooms, and I think that having wider participation in the breakfast cuts down on some of that as well.
You knew a kid was coming in hungry.
So there have been other supplements?
There definitely are.
All right.
Over time, yes, yeah.
And
So this really helps all of the children.
So it's something that is recognized?
And a food service meal is better than, what's in the box and the teacher's covered.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, they're well-intending, but it's still
Yeah.
disruptive to the class procedures and things like that.
Have they come up with a solution for the lost dishes? Paper plates?
I have a solution, but I'd rather not go into it at this point in time.
Do you want me to monitor the lunchroom?
She asked if they come up with a solution to the lost plates.
Well, and that's at the high school.
Yes.
Oh, it's not our kids?
No.
I was gonna
No.
say,
It's not-
that time I'll monitor lunch.
No.
Okay. Superintendent's report.
Sure. The SVSU leadership team will be convening again in early April, and we're planning another joint meeting with the SVSU board at the end of April, which will only be goal-setting work. There'll be a small group working prior to that to really flesh out the detail and bring that forward at the March 29th meeting for a first look with the board members. So I'm looking forward to that. We do have an annual retirement dinner to honor all of the retirees. We are planning to do that again this year. What's very nice about it is that the supervisors of the people that are retiring give a small statement about the contributions that they've made to the district, and then that's put on a legislative citation that AMMUC gets for us from the legislature.
When is it?
So it's a great, we haven't set the date yet, but I just
It'll be in
wanted to make
June.
sure. Pardon?
So it'll
If you
be in
want to know
June.
date.
It'll be
Yeah, I
sometime
don't
in
think we've
June.
set the date. It's usually in June, but after graduation, I
The
believe.
recipients really seem to appreciate the.
Yeah, they
to-
do. They
So
really
Bennington
do.
has no retirees, though, I think you had said, right?
You just had a
A para.
Para.
Yeah,
okay,
just
yeah.
today
So far.
on the,
But we do have a Bennington teacher retiring, even though they're an SVSU, they've been in
the SVSU.
Okay.
Bennington School
That's correct.
District, so.
That's correct. Thank you, Donna. Yeah, the employing board's quite different.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 4 policies, and the way this works is Claude's on the policy committee, and they come up with various policies. Sometimes they refine an old policy, bring it up to date and so forth. And what happens is they come to us, and basically we have to get a copy of it, and then we warn it first. It's there for discussion, and I think it's like a month where anybody can ask questions about it, and then the next meeting we'll act on it, for adoption. Okay, so we have 4. First one, 5003 on bullying prevention. Can we have a motion to warn that one?
So moved.
Okay, Jackie, second. George, questions? Okay, all in favor of warning that policy? Unanimous. Okay, policy 5030, attendance. Can I have a motion to warn that one?
Make a motion to warrant.
Okay, Marie, second. Claude? Okay, no questions. All in favor? Okay. Okay. C, number 6330, student eligibility for athletics and co-curricular activities. Do we have a motion to warn that one?
I'll make a motion to warrant.
Okay, so,
Activity.
now this one is a little bit controversial.
Yeah.
And Claude said that he'd be willing to speak to this one because he is on a policy committee, and there may be some information that we haven't been privy to. Go ahead, Claude.
Well, I thought what was missing and what was passed around was the memo that Tim Brown had prepared. I thought that was excellent, and it certainly swayed me. Because of the inequity of the old policy, it was penalizing good performance because of the calendar. For example, in the first quarter in the opening seasons, some students were being, we're talking about not just sports, we're talking all performance activities. And so it's not just sports activities, and these activities also have academic benefit. But any of it, what this policy does now, it addresses those inequities, plus it facilitates the monitoring of it. The students are responsible for getting signatures to show that they're eligible. It's not on the staff or the administrators. So it's a shame you don't have that memo. I'm certainly not doing it justice.
Well, I'll make sure it's in the next board meeting packet, because this is a warning, so people can comment.
Fine.
It's not an approval. I'm sorry.
That was a public meeting, and it is on the air. So.
Okay, Jack.
So you can actually see the presentation they made. It was Tim Brown and the other two administrators.
Okay.
I read the policy, I read the paper and I've seen Tim Brown's presentations in the past when Rick and I were on Mount Anthony board. My biggest problem is the 65. I don't care what you say. We are preparing kids to grow up and become adults and work and live and work and whatever. I got a cold. They're supposed to go out into the community and work. There isn't an employer that is going to allow a person to
Slide by.
slide by for 65 on 65%.
That's
You're
my
just-
thought.
It's just not gonna happen. And I don't, they have to, as far as I'm concerned, if it doesn't come back with an average of 70, I'm not voting for it. And 70 is too low for me. It should be 75.
Okay. Any other comments?
And I'll second that.
There wasn't a motion.
I support
No,
it.
what surprised me was that one of the reasons that they adjusted it from 65 to 70 was the supposed difficulty of keeping track of all these 350 youngsters. When the grades come out, someone had to sit down every day and go through and make sure that everybody had this no lower than 65, an average of 70.
Part of your job.
But what got me is when I was talking with Mr. Marsden at the elections yesterday, I saw people with 3 sheets of paper. On both sides, they had voting on various issues, and they put it into this machine, and this program was able to take and collate every single individual name and issue and come up with totals. And if we can find a computer program to do something like that, it would seem that they could find a program that says...
Programs.
If
We
you
already
can-
have them.
Yeah, I would think because then we could keep the 65 minimum, but a 70 average for passing.
No. No 65 minimum. That means a student is wrong 35% of the time. That's not passing. When I went to school, and I'm dating myself, you had to have a 70. A 65 was definitely a D, and you didn't pass.
Oh, it's a D, 65 is a D.
Yeah, but you didn't get to the next class with a D.
Oh, okay.
You had to have at least a C. And if you can't at least be average, then you don't belong to an extra. You need to be educated.
Would you like to entertain a comment from the audience?
That the college requirements indicate a GPA that must be maintained as well. So in tapping into your feedback regarding an employer, the 65%, you also have college requirements in order for that student to do, sports at the college level. They must maintain a certain GPA, and I believe it is 2.0.
So where are we?
And I do believe it's a C, not a D. But
Send it back to the committee.
I think it equates a little differently depending upon credits and everything. But
Yeah.
there's a certain GPA, and certainly I do not believe it's a 60.
I know it's a minimum of 2 at least.
So I think there are two issues, the frequency of checking, which has increased under this policy, which is
Yes.
what
That's right.
many are supporting, and then the other issue that's controversial is the percentage.
I have no problem
That's
with
exactly
the
right.
policy.
That's been expedited,
Yes,
and it facilitates the process.
just what they have to
Yeah, I
have.
haven't heard anyone that's been opposed to the
The policy is
the
well
frequent
written now. and
it's just a 65.
And you
Okay,
remember this argument,
So we
don't
will
you?
take it back,
Very well.
right, to policy
And
committee.
Catherine, you're going to get us,
Bit my tongue
We're
so
not voting,
far.
we're just
Yeah.
and
passing.
you get a copy of Tim's
Yeah.
statement?
You can actually take a vote to warn this, because remember, warning is opening a comment period from the public.
But does that mean we agree to it?
No.
No.
No, you're warning it so that people can
It means you
comment.
agree to consider it and listen to public feedback on it.
And at the next meeting, you don't really even have to vote to adopt it, you can still continue discussion.
Right, and you
Adopt means you
won't
approve
have
it.
it to adopt until it gets around all the other districts, so
Okay.
you've got.
I'll
quite a
move
ways.
we warn it.
Okay, a
I'll
motion?
second it.
A second, okay, all in favor? All right, unanimous.
Thank you.
And last one is 6400, optimum class size warrant. Can we have a motion to warn this?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Unanimous, okay.
Claude can take your comments on the other one back to the next meeting, so.
Tell them there's a little pushback on the low 65.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
I'll have to come back with stronger arguments.
It's not going to cut it.
No,
It's a sh-
right.
Well, you should
Yeah,
try and see
you're
when
right.
that
Well, I can send it
presentation.
out by email too. Why don't I do that?
Yeah.
Send
It's
it
not
out.
going to make a difference.
All right.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Chair's report. First of all, in behalf of the Bennington School Board, we'd like to thank the taxpayers for their support in endorsing the budget yesterday. It really, it's good, and hopefully it's going to help with the achievement of our youngsters. Okay, email addresses, I gave the new list to Paul and asked him, does anybody have any change of, matter of fact, if you do, we can pass it around, you can double check your information. Yes?
Ken, I think one reason this is on here is just a quick discussion. Individuals are still using personal emails, and I know there was an effort before to have you use your SVSU email.
I never could get on it.
Me either.
Is that the issue?
Yeah, I
That's
don't-
why.
Okay.
Plus, I was
I'd
running
rather
into
keep my own.
multiple email
I'd rather have my
addresses.
own.
No matter what
Transfer
everybody got it anyway, so what difference
Yeah.
it make?
Plus, I'm having trouble just getting my packet.
Yes, and I didn't get it
Still.
either.
Well, only because it comes out in stages. I get the
mhm.
warning, and then I have to go to the warning that has the
Link.
agenda that's blue to go get the other things that are referenced, and then some of them don't come and some do come, and then, of course, the treasurer's report comes separately.
Right.
And mine didn't come
We'll
either,
work on
Kathy.
that.
I would be interested in the
Have our
SVSU
agenda
email.
deadlines.
I'd be interested in the SU
It
email.
won't work,
Okay.
Bob. You better off do your own.
Okay. Maybe we could get a little workshop where all of us could sit down and have someone show us how to,
Well,
Carry us through.
that's something that should be addressed to the Technology Committee, too, because
Yes,
going forward, that's a major issue.
it is
because,
a major issue.
We're talking different hardware,
Yeah.
different software,
Yeah.
major
Jackie's
piece of
writing
and
it
then
down.
that's as far as access and what's private and what's
Right.
school.
well, when I go on the SVSU site and I scroll down the bottom, I click the BSD meeting information, it comes out all blurb and it says
In
you
the-
need a Google, and I don't have any of that on my machine, and I don't want to start downloading things that I don't know
Okay,
about.
I didn't realize that.
So, I
Okay.
mean, I think we should try and be uniform, everybody
Yeah.
have the same.
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
I just got tightened up the SU
Yeah,
email.
that's fine.
Okay, Catherine, appoint representative to hear, what is this about?
This is
SWVA
the-
grievance.
SWEA grievance on wage and health deductions. They filed a grievance. As you know, there are three filings that occurred. One was a complaint to the Commissioner of Labor on the wage and hour department getting paid for time worked. That one has gone to, we were successful in getting a stay to the order that was issued early by the commissioner on February 10th, and we will be going to an informal hearing, an evidentiary hearing, on March 16th. So she will hear and look at the data that we'll present her, and then she'll make a more specific order about what she feels should occur on the disagreement about the wage payments. The second one that was filed was a grievance. This is part of the collective bargaining agreement where if you have a disagreement within the terms of the collective bargaining agreement that's been negotiated, you can file a grievance, and it goes through several levels. It started at my level. I did hear it last month and denied the grievance, so it now goes to the board level. And each board needs to, or the chair needs to appoint a representative to sit on the board to hear that grievance. And hopefully we can be successful from one of these avenues and resolve some of the issues based on fact. Ken, so if you could.
Sure. I was just gonna ask, let's find out if there's someone that wants to.
Yeah, does anybody like to volunteer to be on the?
Is that gonna be during the day or in the evening?
I don't know yet. It depends on who's on the.
You like to do that?
I'll do it.
Jackie?
Okay.
Jackie?
Thank you.
So what is this on the new contract, the one we just ratified?
The one you read about in the
Yeah,
paper.
it's the same wage.
So what are the paragraphs that are at issue here?
One paragraph is 30.4, which is the first payment of, the first installment of compensation amount that happens, and the specific language is that first payment is made, the first payroll on the regular SU payroll cycle that occurs following the first day of work. So this year's first day of work was the 7th of September, and but we had already paid on the 1st because of Irene, out of knowing that some people would have some disadvantage and hardship from the hurricane. We went ahead and released a payroll before the actual contract required us to. And so that is the source of the controversy, related to what might be owed in the newly negotiated salary amounts compared to what people have gotten paid to what they've actually worked. So that's basically the issue. There's a little bit more to it, but you can find the documents on our website.
Okay. And the last thing, I was watching the Channel 3 News this evening, and Governor Shumlin was on with Commissioner Armando, and they proposed a new item that's going to be going to the State Board of Education, because they gave some startling statistics. They said in the state of Vermont, 47% of the kids take Algebra 1 in the first year, 31% of the sophomores take geometry, and 13% take Algebra 2. And then they're wondering, the governor's wondering, why the kids aren't doing so well in math, and our math test scores are way down in this state, and there's no rigors to the math program. And sometimes they call it algebra, and it's basically an enhanced adding, subtracting type of program. So what I'm thinking is that it's going to have to start with the grade schools, and they're really going to have to bring up the skills of the youngsters K-5, so that when they get to the middle school and high school, they're going to be ready to take algebra. Now, I know there's 8th graders that take algebra. I know that, but that may be 10, 15%. But they're going to they want everybody to take Algebra 1 when they're in the 9th grade, geometry in the 10th grade, everybody in the state. That's what the new proposal is.
I'd just like to compliment Kathy Marcoux, our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and our teachers on the mathematics curriculum revision team, because they are way ahead of the curve with the Common Core, and they've already realigned our math curriculum and have an implementation schedule so that they'll be doing the exact thing that you're talking about, Ken, really looking at those Common Core standards and setting an implementation schedule that will address not only conceptual, but also what's called automaticity, which is what we all know as memorization or facts, but the
Rote
fluency with which people use their mathematics skills. So I think we're going to be well poised to respond to that in the elementary levels.
But that, that's really, really scary when those few numbers of our kids are taking that type of, algebra
That
1
level
and
of
2, and
math.
that's not really a high math, and we're only getting half the kids. Then you wonder why we're getting 40% proficiency in the state when they take the kneecaps.
Again, that's the state data. It might be worth taking a look at our MAU data as well.
Right.
compared.
But the key is, if you take algebra, then you have algebra A, algebra B, algebra C. When you're getting down to those Bs and Cs, it's really not algebra anymore. It's something that's really down. So, they're saying everybody take it, period. So, I just think that, it's going to have to start here to get the foundation for the youngsters. So that's why I'm just mentioning this. Not so much the high school, but they have to start early. Okay, task list, number 14.
Okay, we want a legal opinion from DOE on alternates to SVSU. Catherine's going to do that. Revised minutes of January 26th to Richard. Catherine's going to do that. Send out presentation on policy number 6330 to all board members. Somebody at central office will do that. And somebody will fix it so we can all get email at the SU.
Don't do that.
You may not necessarily want that.
Catherine's recommending that because remember a few years ago, they had some problems with emails going between and they couldn't get them, the people erased them. This way, everything would be saved on the server. And if someone wanted those, it would be right there. There would be no question where we could get them.
I believe you can automatically have it forwarded to your home, so you
Yeah,
don't
it can
you don't have
bounce.
to ask.
It can bounce to your home.
You don't have to go look at it. It can automatically.
Oh, it'll bounce? Oh, good. Yeah.
I'd rather have
Set that up.
All right,
Yes.
we'll give Frank that task with his
Go ahead, Rick.
technology committee.
Yeah, remiss in not welcoming Paul, and my usual offer is that I'm open. If you want to come in, I'll give you a Education Finance 101 course and show you how to understand and read
still ain't got there
the
yet.
budget and taxes, and just call Lori and she'll schedule something, and probably take about an hour, but anytime you want. Just
There'll also be a new board members orientation as well. We usually schedule that.
And if anybody else wants to join in,
Yeah, join with the
you're more than
finance.
welcome to. It's not, if you missed it, doesn't mean, or if you want a refresher course, doesn't mean you can't come in and get it, but it'll help you out next budget season to help understand what we're doing.
So when you
Somebody
book
get a
him,
hold
I'll
of me
do
as
it
far
with
as
him.
the
Do 2 at a
orientation and all
time,
that stuff.
if you don't mind.
And the other thing, this is good to have, is the student population. It comes out once a month.
Yeah, it's in
And they
your
update it, and
FYI.
they'll give you an idea of last year's numbers and this year's numbers and so forth. So I always found that handy, too. Okay, anything under other?
Well,
Yes.
I did.
Oh, when you
I just
do it,
wanted to
let me
thank
know and
the
I'll go with you.
principals on the
He'll
reports
do both.
that were in the
Yeah.
annual report. I thought they were excellent. There was,
5840.
of course, they were overshadowed by the idea of being identified. And I think
Yes.
that's really a misrepresentation, and that's unfair, and I don't know what we could do about it. I don't know if you get modified IEPs or what, for all students, and so we have some objective basis for measuring ourselves.
Well, we have
I
the
just wanna
MAP
bring that out.
scores and other assessments that we use that we'll be giving reports on periodically. But you're right, Claude, it does overshadow.
I think I have.
That's the No Child Left Behind, Paul, that the AYP had not been met.
Ken,
Yes.
I would like to bring up an item, and that is that for the next meeting, I'd like the board to consider a Buildings and Grounds Committee so that we not be burying the needs that the principals have brought up to the board in all the schools. So I'd like to put that on the agenda and find out what board members want to be on it. And I'd also like to suggest that each year, I like to get into the different buildings, and any board member that would like to go along I'd like to coordinate that with the principals and
For a
have
visit.
them point out to us as board members what's needed, and with a particular item that's big in my mind is Molly Stark School.
Right.
But I'd like to go to Monument, I'd like to go to Molly Stark, I'd like to go to Ben L. And so I'd like that on the agenda, and we set up a time at our April meeting and get people on that committee, number one, and number two, any board members that want to go, we coordinate that with the principals as to what fits into their schedule, and we go.
Okay, good.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
You're seconding a lot of.
I have one other item. I wanted to come back to another item.
You will next meeting.
The other item is that Catherine, when does the supervisory meet?
The 29th of March.
Okay, so the 29th of March is going to be ahead of BSD's next meeting.
That's correct.
Is it legal for us to appoint someone tonight in case one of us that was appointed would be available to go, because there's a possibility that one of us may be traveling?
Is that you?
It's very, very much so. So I'm not
So you're
sure, but I don't want to
resigning for
call the
one meeting?
board together,
He's
so.
resigning for one meeting.
Nothing's illegal, it's just a question if they get,
No, that's why I want to do it tonight.
if it gets called on at the SU meeting and there's a vote and somebody questions whether that vote's legal
So
or
you
not.
resign for one meeting and then we'll.
Well, I don't know. See, I don't know
I would
yet,
do it
but I
that
know
way.
it's going to be prior to our meeting.
I would
So
do it
in the
that way.
event that I'm not there
I
or
would- I
can,
would resign for that meeting, and then they.
that's, yeah. Can we do that? Sure. All right.
So can Jackie cover you?
Jackie, can you cover?
Yeah, I got it off.
There you go, you're set.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion,
You have
in
to
the
have it.
event that I'm not there,
Jackie.
I will contact Jackie. Is that going to be
No,
legal?
no, no,
No, you
no.
have to resign for that meeting. You have to
You're not
resign
going to the
from your
29th meeting,
SU
period.
position.
I don't know yet. I won't know for another week.
Oh, well, we might be able to take care of that.
Maybe we
Yeah.
call a special
We can have
emergency
a
meeting.
special meeting.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah,
do
will you
that.
get us that opinion as soon as
Just
possible?
vote to make Jackie the alternate, and we'll just take it from there.
No,
Okay.
I would wait. You're going to get an opinion anyway, and
We
we
can do
can
it.
take it. We can take care of it.
All right.
Take care of it. Don't worry.
You're covered, George.
Thanks.
You will be covered.
Okay, can we have a motion to go into executive session?
So
for
moved.
Personnel,
Indeed.
So moved.
Second.
second? All in
Oh,
favor?
excuse me. I'd like to request Mr. Pembroke to stay.
Yes, I
For
would
executive
like you to
session.
stay.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
Unanimous.
What I got left on that?
Okay.
That's right.
Boy, we're right on time.
Where are we going?